Are you talking about, you're not talking about pentathlon anymore?
No, I am, because that's what then, we went from saying, look, here's OCR in the Olympics, and now the headlines are ninjas in the Olympics.
All right. So that's, remember, you're talking about a different sport here. This is pentathlon. It's not us. We
But
help
you're
them just,
you're in
yeah, go ahead.
conversations with those folks, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the chairman of the working group.
Which
But this is
what's the group called? You said the working group. I don't know what that
the
is.
working group for the new fifth discipline for pentathlon.
Right.
So to think about it like this, there's multiple multi-sports. You've got biathlon, triathlon, pentathlon, and then within a sport, you've got things like heptathlon, decathlon. So they're conglomerations of different events within a sport. The new fifth discipline was, okay, we're going to wind this back because there is confusion and there's been a lot of fabricated narratives, rumors, and unsupported claims about what actually happened and why it's there. There was a horse punching incident in Tokyo, which led to the IOC saying, okay, you got to address this problem to remain on the Olympic program, to have an event on the Olympic program. This is talking to pentathlon. Pentathlon evaluated 62 proposals for a replacement for the horse riding or the equestrian. This was done because it was to save their sport. If they didn't do it, they would not have an event on the program, and the sport, frankly, would cease to exist as we know it. So they went, all right, let's have a look at all this stuff. The primary one of the 13, but a primary requirement for the event modern pentathlon is that it should address or identify a complete athlete. From the obstacle side, if you look at it and go, hey, our athletes are pretty complete. They do all this stuff. They lift, they carry, they're strong, they're fast, they have amazing kinesthetic sense and athleticism. This is a truly representative sport for a complete athlete. Not surprisingly, I guess from our side, is that after having an expert panel evaluate the 62 proposals, they went, well, it's either going to be obstacle or obstacle. Because it really does, kind of fills that need for addressing the complete athlete. They then came to FISO and said, oh, you guys know what obstacle is. We need help. Would you be willing to assist in proposing some formats to test, which we did. And that's where they said, well, you represent the organization. Perhaps you could be the person that does that. And I said, all right, that sounds fine. Happy to help, which I did. And we then evaluated, we did 4 test events at basically 4 World Cups or World Champs of pentathlon. So all their athletes were there, invited our own athletes from the various obstacle sports, ninja and OCR, and did an OCR test, a ninja test, an OCR test, and a ninja test. So we tested 2 OCR formats and 2 ninja-ish formats. Now that has been accepted. That was accepted by the executive board of UIPM, went to the Congress, which is where everyone gets to vote. All their 140 countries get to vote, and they voted, I think, close to 90% approval. So now that's being furthered into the proposal to the IOC for acceptance for modern pentathlon format on the Olympic program. It's long and it's complicated, but it's right, also highly accelerated.
Right. And so what we've seen over and over the last year or so is these folks, Pentathlon United is an organization, and Joe Chung and Kate Allenby and a bunch of these other folks have said, this is not what we want. We've polled our own people. They said that's not what they want. They said all these votes have happened in secret and they wanted a seat at the table. And they've said consistently that that's not happened.
And I believe that to be complete nonsense. I've observed firsthand how it's been working. The Congress is a good example. That is all the members and all of their constituents. It's approximately, I think it might be 86% or something like that. The approval is very, very high because whatever the pony club narrative thing is, it's frankly nonsense. They're saying we polled athlete. I think they say something like we polled athletes and 90% believe that equestrian should remain on the pentathlon program. Equestrian should remain on the modern pentathlon program. It is still on the modern pentathlon program. It hasn't been taken away. What the IOC has said is you can't have it on the Olympic program, which is a different thing. So traditional modern pentathlon, if you like, is still there. The other thing that they're not saying is that the Pentathlon United crowd polled their own people, which is everyone who wants to keep the horses, 90% don't want to get rid of the horses. Another way to say that is 10% of the people who want to get rid of the horses understand that they actually do have to get rid of the horses. So if you poll everyone in your own pool that wants to keep something and say, do you want to keep it? They're probably going to say yes. That's what they're not saying. What they're also not saying is that the athlete committee, which represents all athletes in all countries, is saying.
So what does that say about these well-respected Olympians like Kate and Joe? Like, these are well-respected athletes who've done well at the sport, that you're saying it's nonsense?
I'm not saying that. Well, yeah, I'm saying it's nonsense because I've seen the actual facts. It's not Pentathlon getting rid of it, and it's not a conspiracy. It was a requirement to remain on the Olympic program. They had a Congress just recently, and it was very clear from
right, but the specific thing about it has to be obstacle. That's, I think, the part that they've had an issue with. Of course, they want to keep the horses no matter what, but if they do lose it, it's not this thing that they don't believe represents them. That's the part they felt was snuck in.
Obstacle does not represent equestrians. Doesn't.
No, but that I can go and read a bunch of articles that said, hey, we don't think anything else was tested, certainly not to this degree. It simply was pushed through, and this is what they've gone with. That's my understanding. And again, I don't have a horse in the fight, as it were. I'm here asking them, and I find them to be quite credible. So that's why I'm asking you these questions.
Well, if you ask the pentathlon community, you said that they're well respected. I would ask a few other people to see if they're actually well respected.
Okay, if you want to point me in a direction, I'm like I said, all the folks that I've heard from and my dealings with them directly, like, trust me, you and I both know there are people online and in real life that have a lot of opinions that I may or may not listen to. But I'm just saying those two specifically, I found to be intelligent, credible, and well respected.
It depends who you talk to. So if you wanted to start somewhere, maybe start with any national governing body for pentathlon. I don't know, start with Ivar Siskinega. He's the head of Pan Am Sports and the head of, so that's all the 41 sports in the Olympic movement in the Americas. Start with him. He's a pentathlete.
Okay.
And he doesn't really have a dog in the fight. He just wants the sport to exist. So go talk to Ivar.